Hello, back again for another live stream. We're going to talk about monsters. Today is the day I talk about the crypt thing. Now, this is specifically dedicated and requested by Wally DM, who is a good friend of mine, and I have been wanting to talk about the monster. He loves this monster, so it seems appropriate that today is the day. I've made him wait way too long. So for those of you who are into that sort of thing and are looking for a monster to include into a Domain of Dread campaign or Ravenloft or the Curse of Strahd, this is what this is all about. I'm apparently watching an unskippable ad, which is amazing. How did that happen? So I have been promising to go back to some of the older monsters, and this is what this is all about, for those of you who are wondering. Okay, all right, so it sounds like we're all there. So grab some food, grab some drink, get comfortable, get ready. We're on a journey down the path through the advanced Dungeons and Dragons monsters. I'm going to run a poll for those of you who are interested in taking part. Please be careful when you are selecting something from the poll, because once you select something from the poll, you can't change your mind. So my suggestion to you is don't select something straight away. Maybe just wait a little bit before you do anything. That would be the smartest way to deal with that. And just a suggestion. Okay, so let's get started, shall we? You've been waiting long enough. Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. My name is Fred Weller, and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, because generally I always talk about Dungeons and Dragons, but we're going to wind back the clock a bit to advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about the Elusive Crypt thing in Dungeons and Dragons monster lore. This is right back to advanced Dungeons and Dragons, for those of you who are unaware, and it is very much part of the Ravenloft setting. And so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you some lore, how it's used in combat, how to defeat this monster, how to incorporate it into an adventure, although a lot of the lore will actually indicate most of that for you. And I will also indicate the publications that it showed up in, because for a lot of us, it's nice to be able to find the publications where you can actually access these monsters if you want the original one rather than anything that's sort of been updated. And I know that's a big thing for some people. So that's what we're doing for today. So let's get straight into it, shall we? One of the interesting things about the crypt thing is that this monster is actually not a good monster to engage in combat with. And I will explain more. This monster is actually more a role-play monster, because any attempt to do anything else is probably a complete disaster. So with regard to the crypt thing, it is a strange, intelligent, undead creature bound to guard a specific burial site. And that's usually going to be something like tombs, graves, catacombs, a crypt, mausoleums, and corpses. I mean, really, everything I've just said is some type of burial place, right? There are two types of crypt things. There's the ancestral, and then there's the summoned. The ancestral crypt thing is a restless spirit driven to protect buried family, while the other one, the summoned crypt thing, is called into existence by, say, a wizard, a cleric, or a priest who is at least level 14 or above. The crypt thing looks a lot like an animated skeleton, but it always wears a flowing robe that is either brown or black, and each eye socket of the crypt thing is lit by an airy, fiery red pinpoint of light that is quite hypnotic. It doesn't necessarily have a mechanical aspect to it but it's impressive and scary. That's essentially what it's trying to bring across. The habitat and society of the crypt thing. Crypt things they're not a natural part of our world, or any world, frankly. They have no organized society or culture. The crypt thing is found wherever there is a tomb or a crypt. That's where they can be found. The most common crypt thing is the one that is summoned, that particular variety. The ancestral one is much more rare. Now, by using a 7th level spell, any caster capable of employing necromantic magic or spells can create a crypt thing if they want to. The ancestral crypt thing, they are usually the raised spirits of a dead that have returned to guard tombs of their descendants. Usually it is descendants of that family in some way. And why are they doing that? It's usually because those descendants are very important to the world in some way, or have a significant world-shaking ramification. So disturbing the tomb and that body would undermine some aspect of the world, or is often protecting something quite significant of great power. So things like magic items, artifacts like that are much more likely to be found in a crypt or a tomb guarded by the crypt thing. The formation of the ancestral crypt thing will only happen in very rare cases, essentially determined by the dungeon master. They're not something that just happens willy-nilly. There's usually quite a strong story element to why they exist. They don't just sort of pop into existence for nothing. The ecology of the crypt thing is not a being of this world, as I've said. Thus, it has no proper ecological niche, but it is rumoured that the powdered marrow from a crypt thing, their bones ground up, can be used to create a potion of undead control, or control undead. Now, if you want to control the undead, that'd be exactly what you want, is a potion of this type. It is not necessarily a potion that is readily available in modern Dungeons and Dragons, but if you look back at older versions of the game, it certainly was very much part of it. In addition, anyone who employs the bones of the crypt thing to manufacture a set of pipes of haunting, which is basically a magic item, is more likely to create a magic item that imposes a stronger magical effect on its victims who hear the pipes as they are played. Combat with this thing. The crypt thing exists only to protect the bodies of those who have been laid to rest in its lair. That's all it does. The crypt thing acts only to defend its crypt, so it's not necessarily a malicious creature or undead creature. It is just there to protect. Should grave robbers or vandals seek to enter or profane the sanctity of a tomb, then the crypt thing becomes insanely animated, or instantly animated, should I say. A crypt thing's first line of defense is a powerful variety of teleportation, which can be cast only once, usually once in a day, and so it's usually targeting more than one individual within an area. It doesn't specify exactly the range of that. So for those of you who are wondering, like, how far does this ability work and how far can they go? Well, that's completely up to you as a dungeon master, frankly. They could be 50 feet away, they could be 100 feet away, they could wind up being teleported right across one side of the world. I mean, from one side to the other, if you wanted to. So there's not a lot of sort of huge restrictions on this, as far as I know. If the crypt thing's teleportation spell is successful, the creatures targeted are instantly transported away from the crypt. The idea is to get rid of the grave robbers or the intruders imposing themselves upon the buried. That's all the crypt thing's really trying to do, but it will employ other methods when it has to. Crypt things can select a location the group is teleported to, so it can actually select where they are teleported to if the crypt thing has an understanding of what is the nature of its environment is, or it can randomly select a direction and a distance for the teleportation ability. So this again is left completely up to the Dungeon Master's discretion. A very powerful ability, making it quite frightening for any player characters. Now, those teleported by the Crypt Thing can't materialize inside solid material, but they do not necessarily arrive at floor level. So that doesn't mean that when they are teleported, they arrive on a solid surface, but you can't have them teleport into stone, wood, rock, metal, or anything like that. They do actually it has to be a space that they can occupy. Now, particularly clever Crypt Things have been known to transport or teleport victims several hundred feet into the air or atop a vast chasm, leaving them to fall to their deaths. That's probably the easiest way to get rid of interlopers. And so this is why this is probably one of the more lethal creatures that you can employ in your game. Once the Crypt Thing has employed its teleportation power, the Crypt Thing then will attack by using claws or its skeletal hands. There is always a chance that the teleportation ability will not work on all of the individuals that it's trying to cast this spell on. So there is hope for the player's characters, and if it fails, then it's not going to get a chance to do it for like 24 hours. A Crypt Thing can be hit and harmed only by magical weapons, which means that it's going to be very difficult to do anything to. Like all undead, Crypt Things are immune to certain spells. Now, when you look at the entry on this, it doesn't necessarily spell out exactly which spells it is immune to. So this is what spells would undead normally be immune to, and then potentially there are others that you could add as a dungeon master. So there's a lot of room for movement with this creature. It's not well defined in any respect. It is impossible to employ a charm, hold, or sleep spell against a Crypt Thing with any chance of success. So if you're trying to use a charm spell of any kind, or a hold spell of any kind, or a sleep spell of any kind, they do not work on the Crypt Thing. Crypt Things are harmed by holy water or holy symbols. Fortunately, you thought it was over. Can't do anything if I don't have a magic weapon. No, holy symbol will do it. As many undead creatures are affected by holy symbols and holy water. So that means flicking some holy water onto them will certainly harm them. Pressing the holy symbol against their flesh will harm them. The magic that roots a Crypt Thing to their lair is so powerful, though. In fact, it is so powerful that it means that it eliminates any chance for a cleric, a paladin to use turn undead on them. So you can't use turn undead or a turn undead feature of any kind on a Crypt Thing. It cannot destroy a Crypt Thing. It will not make them flee in terror. Crypt Things don't work that way. So that means they are bound by their location, which also means that it's possible to escape and flee from the Crypt Thing if you need to. So how would you incorporate this monster into your adventure? It's pretty obvious, I think, how you would incorporate the Crypt Thing into an adventure. Because really the lore tells you everything. The very first part of it talks about the Crypt Thing being a member of a family, and their spirit is brought forth to protect a family member's buried corpse or possessions in a tomb. So there it is. That sort of sells all of it. But in terms of the campaigns that you are running, where could you place it easily? This undead creature makes an excellent tomb guardian for the Amber Temple and the Curse of Strahd, or frankly any adventure. If you have a tomb and you want a guardian, this works really well, particularly if you can tie in a family reason for them to be there. That doesn't mean that they have to have a family connection, because remember, the Crypt Thing is also summoned. So if there is a such as a powerful lich, and there is a powerful lich in the Amber Temple, or you're using a lich of any kind, then you might find that the crypt thing is part and parcel of what has been created by a lich who's had plenty of time to construct this this being for the sole purpose of protecting a lair and probably the buried site. It may well be that the crypt thing is protecting the phylactery of the lich. And you can imagine just how difficult it is to deal with the crypt thing when it's protecting a phylactery. You could also use the crypt thing in a Domains of Dread campaign. It makes a viable creature for that as well. Any kind of Ravenloft setting, any kind of gothic horror setting. And for those of you who aren't necessarily running a gothic horror and you're trying to figure out where it might sort of interplay into all of this, if you have a horror element to your roleplay game, even if you're not playing Dungeons and Dragons, I think the concept behind the crypt thing works quite nicely. Now, there's also another way you could see this. Now, for a lot of you may be aware of a creature or character called the Crypt Keeper that was on TV many years ago. And you could certainly employ the crypt thing a little bit like the Crypt Keeper as a keeper of lore and a storyteller if you really wanted to. So how do you defeat the crypt thing if you're facing it down? Well, it's going to be important that the party ensure that they have access to Featherfall. Otherwise, everyone could find themselves teleported high above a deep crevasse and then fall to their death. But as long as there's somebody there when the group is teleported that has access to Featherfall, there's a good chance that you will survive, or at least the ability to fly would be very helpful as well. Counterspell is going to be vital for trying to counter the Crypt Thing's teleportation spell. The only problem is that a Crypt Thing is an extremely powerful monster, and therefore it's going to be a lot more difficult than you might imagine. You're going to have to cast this spell at a much higher level. Martial characters will need a magical weapon to harm the Crypt Thing, but if they are dedicated to a deity or a god, and they have a holy symbol, even if they're not necessarily a cleric, then there's the potential to use the holy symbol as a weapon against this creature if they wanted to. But in the case of clerics who may not be using spells that are going to be useful or using melee weapons that are going to be useful, their holy symbol is very much a useful tool. And of course, holy water as well. Try not to directly affect the crypt thing with a spell, as it could be immune to that spell. You just don't know. Rather, try to affect the environment around the undead. So collapsing the environment down on the crypt thing would probably be a smarter idea than trying to physically cause harm to the creature, because that might not work. Talking. Would you believe it? Talking to the crypt thing and coming to an arrangement is usually the smartest strategy when dealing with this creature, provided you know what it is. You may find that because it's such a rare creature, knowing about it may actually be quite difficult. But then again, you never know. You could wind up with somebody who's very well knowledgeable in undead creatures and is aware that there is such a thing as a crypt thing and can identify them quite quickly. But yes, would you believe it, the smartest strategy for this particular monster is to talk. And you might not necessarily get everything that you want, but at least you won't be dead. So publications for the crypt thing, the history is quite broad. There's quite a few different books that it appeared in. I'm only going to mention 3, because I feel like they are the 3 main ones you're likely to sort of have access to or be able to find easily. The first one is the Fiend Folio, a very old publication, a very famous publication, a very good publication. So it's in there. You'll also find it in the Monstrous Compendium. Now, the Monstrous Compendium was basically a folder, and you could put, it's like a big, huge ring binder, really, and you would add monsters to it. And these things would be published, I believe, in magazines, but you also got some monsters in initially in the folder as well. So, and then you would add to it. So the Monstrous Compendium, another quite a difficult product to actually get a hold of nowadays. One that you probably find much easier to access is the Monstrous Manual, 1993. This is the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 2nd edition Monstrous Manual. You'll find it in there. Otherwise, if you look down in the description, you will find a lot of links to this monster if you want to use it in a 5e game, in a 3.5 game, in a Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 2nd edition game, and if you want a bit of lore, there's a lot of stuff down there. And a lot of the stuff I have just condensed and turned into something which is less about numbers and more about the story. Now, I'm hoping that this was useful to people and that they found it interesting in some way. And if you did, I actually have more videos on monsters, but also hundreds of videos on Dungeons & Dragons for players and Dungeon Masters, covering pretty much everything, and our other RPGs. You're welcome to go and check those out. If you want to support the channel so I keep doing video content like this, you can through Patreon. The Amazon affiliate links down in the description, or you can just I also have a merchandise shelf underneath my videos, or just watch the videos. Actually, watching the videos is a good thing too. Do the usual YouTube things like share, like, and subscribe. Hit the bell button to be notified when I go live and when I publish new videos, which I do publish edited videos as well. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s. I'm not God. We are transitioning over. It is time for some Q&A. No. It's doing that. Okay, so drink of water. Did I bring my glasses today? I didn't bring my glasses. That's what I forgot. I forgot my glasses case. Oh, it's going to be strain on the eyes. Thank you, Angle Monk, for the super sticker. I do appreciate the $10. Thank you very much. So, very quickly before everybody runs away, there is a Dungeon Master Roundtable live today in about an hour and a half. Okay? For those of you who are into the Dungeon Master Roundtable discussions, there is a Dungeon Master Roundtable today in about an hour and a half. It is going to be on monsters. It is going to include 6 panel members. I'll tell you those panel members in a second. You will find that this Dungeon Master Roundtable Live is going to be on the HowtoDandD channel. Okay, that's Josiah's channel, HowtoDandD. It'll be on Twitch TV and it will be on YouTube. For those of you who want to watch on YouTube or Twitch TV, you have the choice because he will use Restream. Okay, what time? It will be 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Mountain Daylight Time is 6 p.m. today. Central Standard Time is 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, if you're in Florida, is 8 p.m. And if you're in Nova Scotia, which is ADT, I don't think it's called ADT. I don't know what that. I don't even know what that means actually, but I know the whatever. That's 9 p.m. And if you're in New Zealand, which I very much doubt anybody in New Zealand is watching right now, but if you are, then you will find that that is at 12 p.m. Friday for me, which for everybody else is like Thursday. I think I've kind of covered that as much as I possibly can. Now, who will be appearing? This live stream is going to include myself, obviously, Mr. Welsh, for those of you who like the lore around Mystera and other stuff. HowtoDandD, of course, because it'll be on his channel. William SRD, a very clever fellow, and I think you will enjoy what he has to say. And then we have Flute Salute. So Jordan from Flute Salute will be there. And we'll also have Zero Doxy. Now, Zero Doxy is Mallory. Please be very kind and gentle to Mallory. This is her first time round on one of these things. Mallory is Josiah's wife. And I have been trying to get Mallory into one of these for a very long time, and I finally managed to do it. And she has selected the monsters we will talk about today. I will put all of this in the community tab after this live stream if you are going to forget any of this stuff. So don't worry, it's not gone. Okay, so let us go through the chat. I want to look at the poll first. I know that these monster live streams aren't necessarily the most popular thing, but for me, they're like so much more fun. So much more fun. Okay, so what do you want the crypt thing to be included in your campaign? We have 42% who said yes. I don't know if they're dungeon masters or players. We have 17 who have said no, and I totally get why they don't want to include it. Sometimes crypt thing is not appropriate. 17% have said undecided. We have 12 votes in total. And then there are 25% who don't know what it is, which I totally expect, which is why we are talking about it today. All right, so hello, Seeker. How's it going? I've already said hi to Angle Monk. Now, Angle Monk is a patron who supports me on Patreon, and you basically get all of my notes from my live streams, and you get a lot of the stuff that I will release as video content in the future, but you get a sort of a preview. You get the first sighting of it, basically. And then occasionally you will also get content that will never make it to YouTube. And that will include the Lost Mine of Phandelver Dungeon Master tutorials that I edit. That's just how it is, people. I've decided that is the best way to go. I could go down the route of putting it on YouTube, and then the classes at Lighthall would die. And if the classes at Lighthall die, then it's not worth my effort, because those classes are really, really hard to actually organise and run, and therefore they will never make their way publicly to YouTube at this point. They will only be available on Lighthall, and they will only be available. So that's the live classes and the recordings only in Lighthall, and then an edited version, which will cut out a lot of it, will be available on Patreon. And that's it. Okay. Okay, so here we go. Yeah. It may well, and you're probably right, it probably does go back to Advanced Dungeons & Dragons First Ed Edition. I don't actually have the First Ed Edition book myself. So when you kind of look back at these things, it's like, oh, how far have I gone back? One of the things I found a little bit frustrating is trying to find the publication of this book. It was a bit dodgy, because I didn't feel like it was complete in some way. Probably needed the assistance of AJ Pickett for that one. Okay, yes, Danger Will Robinson, absolutely. Janchevik, how's it going? Better crypt thing than crypto thing. Yeah, I get it. Funny. Nice one. I see what you did there. Jean-Paul. Now, Jean-Paul is one of my friends. We play in a home group. I'm not currently the dungeon master. So, yes. Hi, Fred. I remember this horrible antagonist from Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Ravenloft days. Yes, I bet you did. It would teleport its adversaries away from itself. Our DM completely tormented us with this evil undead character, I bet. Because, see, here's the thing. What the crypt thing can do, because its teleportation doesn't have a specific distance, you can get teleported away so far away that it will take you more than a day to get back to the tomb or crypt, and by then its teleportation ability is ready to go again. and then you face it again, and then you get sent away again, and rinse and repeat. Okay, so moving my way through here. Look, if you have questions about something other than the crypt thing, feel free to ask those. These Q&As are here for a reason. They are an opportunity for you to chat with me through YouTube. I mean, the reality is, I'm on YouTube. I do these once a week, live streams, and it's an opportunity to chat about and ask questions, which, you know, you can do or not do. It's up to you. Hello, Wally. I see you there. Wally. Okay, so I'm getting to you, Wally. I know you're at work. Or is it playing disc golf very shortly? So I'm on there, and I have Facebook and I do have Twitter, but ultimately Discord, you can actually come and talk to me over video chat or voice chat if you want when I'm online. And I'm actually on there quite a bit, really. It's not limited. It's not like it's Patreon patrons only or anything like that. It's open to anybody who wants to join. And then I'm on Lighthall once a week teaching Dungeons and Dragons. Right now it's the Lost Mine of Phandelver tutorials for the Dungeon Master. And this is light years ahead of anything I ever did on YouTube, I can assure you now. And been quite expensive to set up as it happens. But there's going to be some other stuff. I've already talked to the people at Lighthall about doing another one. It'll probably either be the Monster Combat Tactics tutorials, or it'll be the Dungeon Master preparation that you can expect in the future on Lighthall. So in Lighthall, not only is it kind of like this, but it's actually vastly better. There's no lag, really. There's almost no lag, and the picture quality is awesome. The recordings are great. I have no real complaints at this present time, no major ones, frankly. And then I can actually bring people into the video stream in the classroom, and we can just talk about stuff. You don't just have to type. So if you're looking for that kind of experience, and a lot of the Lighthall stuff that I'm doing is also around you practicing stuff. So you practice with me and other people your skills. That's the intention. Okay, what do you got here, Monk? I do appreciate it. Hello, Cody. What's this? Solidly my favourite crypto-dwelling creature. I bet it is. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Oh, okay. JP, what do you got here? I recall our DM applying teleport mishaps to unfortunate souls who fell victim to the crypt thing. PC's items would change to different materials or stone. Your mind could change with another PC. Oh, that's so they didn't appear inside a solid wall, but they might get body swapped, or their items might get adjusted. That's pretty crazy. Look, if that would be happening to me, I'd be like, I think we'll go somewhere else. We'll just leave it alone. Maybe we should have just talked to it. Next time we'll take it some chocolates, some flowers, and a coffee. You know. Hi, David. How's it going, David Scott? McCarr Smith. You like the hat. Well, I'm glad you like the hat. You don't want to see what's underneath the hat. Trust me. That's why the hat is there. Okay, so Wally, what do you got here? Just got here, so I'll have to watch the Crypt Thing video tomorrow. Yep, well, you're welcome to do so, as you know. And I look forward to catching up with you next week, Wally, for another Dungeon Master Roundtable. Gonna be fun. Okay. JP, what do you got here? We had to use fire to destroy the Crypt Thing. Magic weapons did not help. Yeah, that's the problem. Fireball, meteor swarm, Greek fire, and the trusty Molotov cocktail got the job done with great difficulty. Yeah, I imagine nowadays we were looking at the alchemist fire. So I think one of the interesting things about monsters is making monsters quite difficult for a player character to deal with. That just hacking them down and blasting them with spells is just not the way. The idea is you have to figure out what it is that will take out the monster. And to do that, you need to have an escape route. It is necessary to figure out how I will set our group up to escape if we don't have enough time to figure out how to defeat this thing. Or maybe we have to go and do some research. I mean, you know what I mean? What do you got here, Wally? Feel free to reach out anytime, Fred. I can always send you a snapshot of the monster stat block from the book. Okay, all right. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Wally. If you have the stat block for 1E, that sounds good. At this present time, I'm not going to worry too much about it. To me, it's the concept and the story behind the monster that's more interesting than the actual stat block. I found, do you know what I mean? The very concept itself is like awesome. JP, what do you got here? 1E books. You must be an ancient. Yeah. So, actually, I'm older than Wally DM. JP, you're older than I am, as you know, and I'm 50. So yeah, it's. I always find myself generally being the oldest in a group when we have the any kind of discussion. The only time I'm not the oldest is when we're playing in our home group. Thanks, JP. Thank you very much. Okay, so unless people have some questions or something that they want to say, I will tell you now about what is going to be next week, since I've got to the bottom of the chat and there's nothing sort of going on. What is happening next week? Well, I put out a poll. Yes, you do. Okay, that's true. JP, you do look younger than I do. That's exactly, that's right. I can't deny that. Yeah, well, yeah. I keep saying that I'm too old for Dungeons and Dragons YouTube. Like, who wants to watch the old guy talking about D&D? No. So what is happening next week? So I did a poll and I asked people if I did a player guide on various topics, what would you prefer? And the outstanding one was the Castle and Fortress player guide. Now, I want to make it clear for those of you who are dungeon masters, there's going to be stuff in here that'll be useful to you. But it is ultimately the video or live stream that I do next week is designed to set up your players so they understand how to deal with having a castle or a fortress, so that you don't have to do all of the work and try and explain everything to them. I'm going to take a lot of what I know and other people have collected over time and put it forth as a packet. And that is the intention. So the idea is that because when you're dealing with castles, fortresses, and strongholds, you require so much player input and they have to do so much more work than they're probably used to. They're going to need a lot of tools. And so this is what this live stream and video next week will be all about. It's a player guide on that. In terms of what I will talk about in future monster videos, so in about 2 weeks' time, we will continue to get the Dungeon Master Roundtable discussions. I've already pretty much talked about everything there is to talk about with regard to Dungeon Master advice. So for those of you who are wondering why I'm not doing a lot of Dungeon Master advice, because I've already done it. Do you know what I mean? And I talk about it in other people's videos on their channels all the time. And I'm often repeating myself for the umpteenth time. So that's why I don't want to keep doing that kind of thing. It's why I want to just move to teaching online rather than the YouTube presentation stuff. So the monsters that I've been talking about in, say, 2 weeks are the man scorpion, the eye wing. I was playing around with possibly discussing and talking about the Argos, which has already kind of been done by AJ Pickett quite efficiently, so it may be like kind of pointless. So I'll try to pick one that you've never seen before, that Dungeon Dad hasn't done, Mr. Rex hasn't done, AJ Pickett hasn't done, Jordan hasn't done. I will tell you now that the Dungeon Master Roundtable videos that are coming in the future include a lot of people you might be quite surprised to see. As you may have discovered, Jordan joined us for 5 questions, and I've put out 1 so far. But you may have to wait a little bit longer before the rest of his stuff shows up, because I'm still editing. It takes a bit of time. And then I have been toying with talking about the poltergeist, the haunt. There's a few very horrific monsters that are suitable for gothic horror that I would like to discuss. Things that I think that would be really useful to somebody running a Domains of Dread campaign or a Curse of Strahd campaign. So for those of you who are thinking, well, Fred stopped doing the Curse of Strahd stuff. I haven't actually. This is a a companion video for the Curse of Strahd. Ultimately, that's what it's all about, giving you tools to expand on your Curse of Strahd campaign. So if you thought you were missing out on the Curse of Strahd videos, you're not. What you're getting is just not the same stuff somebody else has already done. Like, if you really need to go and get written content and video content on the Curse of Strahd, there's only one place to go, okay? And that is Lunch Break Hero. That's it. He's the guy, as far as I'm concerned. So I'm trying to do something outside of that, rather than just do sort of the same thing. You know, I could talk about different areas. I could talk about NPCs. Let's just talk about how to homebrew your own Curse of Strahd campaign. Because that's, I feel like a lot of people, when they get there, that's what they're trying to do. So the Curse of Strahd video is never really finished. This is just an extension of it, by the way. And this is also an extension to try to... I know people keep saying I'm good as a channel for beginner dungeon masters, but kind of shit when it comes to experienced dungeon masters, because I don't offer enough. This is why I'm offering this, because this is kind of in the vein of what more experienced dungeon masters do. It's also why how to use or fun with monsters is a regular feature to a large extent on the channel, where I get panel members to talk about a different monster and how they might use them to give you more ideas, right, around your campaign as a dungeon master. JP, great video. Thank you, presentation. Thank you. I appreciate it. Definitely a great supervillain to use in a campaign. I thought so. I thought it was like one of the best monsters as a villain to include. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a villain. It could potentially be a villain, but it could be just a roadblock that needs to be negotiated with. Although you might never get the magic items out of that crypt unless you get rid of the crypt thing. That might be a problem. Okay. So to give you an idea of what has been going on with me, I've been working really hard typing up stuff. So if you ever thought that I had stopped doing player stuff or dungeon master stuff, the player stuff is never going to stop. It's always there, and the dungeon master stuff is never going to stop either. I'm currently working on the finishing touches to the Lost Mine of Phandelver tutorials. There's a little bit of a problem with that, doing that though, and that is that it's taking a lot of time, and so therefore the amount of videos you see on my channel has reduced. I would usually put out 2 edited videos and do a live stream, and I can't do that anymore. So what I'm doing is I'm working on Dungeon Master prep stuff, and it would be a class, and it would be covering scratch building monsters, modifying monsters. So that's explain, demonstrate, and then we practice. We get together and we do it, okay? And we can, and I can actually, like I said, I can pull people in. And the idea is that we build something that nobody's built before. And I guess in my mind, I'm thinking, well, let's build monsters that have never existed in Dungeons and Dragons. And that's where my mind is going. So as time passes, I'm probably going to ask you, like, what monsters that aren't Dungeons and Dragons monsters would you like to build from scratch for 5e? And we'll do that. Another thing is, I know a lot of people deal with NPCs, and I've got some pretty good strategies for dealing with that. So building NPCs, and because I can do it relatively quickly, I feel like we can probably do more than one. So I'm building a class around helping you understand how to build your own NPCs relatively quickly for your games, and how to do it sort of on the fly as well. There's a lot of work going into locations as well. So that's mapping. I know a lot of you are already probably very good at that sort of thing. I take a lot of real world stuff and I incorporate it into my game, and so therefore a lot of my maps are quite small rather than these vast mega arrangements. So that is definitely a thing, and that will definitely happen. I am looking forward to putting that out as a program which I show you how to take real places and turn them into your own Dungeons and Dragons maps. Yep, all locations you can use in your adventures. The basic structure of building an adventure, I'm building all of that as well. It's coming along, but just very slowly. I don't want to do it too soon. I want to make sure it's all sort of squared up nicely. And there's improvising. I've got some strategies, so teaching people how to improvise, and then the skill challenge, how to make skill challenges and actually making skill challenges in the classes. I'm getting there. It's getting there. And then magic items. A lot of people are always afraid to make magic items because I worry they'll make them too strong. And so I've got some strategies for dealing with that as well. JP, what do you got here? Have you done anything on other undead villains like Lich King, Demi-Lich, Mummy Lord, Night Hag? Okay, so we're actually going to be talking about the hags in the Dungeon Master Roundtable that's live today. Not necessarily the Death Hag. Is that Death Knight? Oh, Death Knight. Actually, I was working on notes for the Death Knight last night. And I almost started working on the Mummy Lord. I guess the reason I haven't necessarily made them front and center for discussions is because they're iconic. Most people have already talked about those sorts of things. So I'm trying to pick the stuff that people have never talked about. I had this discussion with Josiah and AJ and trying to do something outside of what they have already done. Although there's going to be crossover and we have accepted that that's going to happen. AJ doesn't care and Josiah isn't bothered by it because he talks about monsters nobody else talks about anyway. So that's definitely happening. And there's probably going to be a class on showing people how the basic mechanics of Dungeons and Dragons 5e works. These are all classes that are in the process of being built for the intention of having Dungeons and Dragons take over the world. That is my maniacal plan, is to have everybody playing Dungeons and Dragons. So it doesn't matter wherever you are in the world, you could walk into a toy store or bookstore and there is Dungeons and Dragons on sale. Because that's not necessarily the case right now. If you're in North America, it may well be. But the rest of the world, it's not like that. So I guess, spread it everywhere. That has always been my intention. I just need a bit more water. There's another thing happening that you may... Oh, what's this, Angel? What do you got here, Monk? Monk, I still need an invite to the Discord channel. So, okay, when you have a moment, Angle Monk, So Monk, you can probably find... I mean, I'll put another post up on my community tab so you can access it. But you can also access my Discord by going to the About section of my channel, and if you scroll down, you'll find Discord. And if you click on Discord, you will get an invite to that group. That's the quickest way to do it, is just go straight to my channel About section, scroll down, find Discord, click it, and you're in. And I would love to have a chat with you, so do it, absolutely. But otherwise, I will post a link in the community tab eventually. Helga, how's it going? Fred, are there any modules out there that features a crypt thing? I think there was. There was certainly some stories and novels. Let me see. There is a Forgotten Realms Wiki link in the description of this live stream. If you go to that and scroll right to the bottom, it will show you some of the publications that the crypt thing appeared in. And some of them may be a module. I don't think there is, but that may show you. The problem is that Forgotten Realms Wiki didn't include every publication. For example, I mean something like the Monstrous Manual. It didn't appear in there. It didn't say anything about the Monster Manual for Advanced Dungeons and Dragons First Ed Edition. There was nothing said whatsoever in there as well, which is a little bit frustrating because when you look for information, you're hoping that you can find most of it on the internet, but actually a lot of it kind of isn't there. So yeah. But there may well be a module. What's this, JP? It's in the original Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Ravenloft campaign module, PC level 5 to 7. Okay. I don't... which one are you talking about? Are you talking about the Curse of Strahd? Not the Curse of Strahd. You're talking about Ravenloft as in the Strahd adventure, the very first one, the original one. I'm trying to remember if there was a crypt thing there. I don't remember. I mean, I've run that adventure, the original one. I don't remember it, because if it was there, I would have. It would have been painful. So yeah. Yeah, so for those of you who think that I am unapproachable and you would never meet me and I'm just some guy on YouTube who does videos, like that's really not. This is why when Lighthall approached me and said we would like you to teach on Lighthall, I said yes, and also that they were going to pay me quite well. One of the problems I've discovered is they pay me so well that it's not to my advantage to put any stuff I do on Lighthall on YouTube. That's how bad it is, guys, on YouTube. That's how bad. I recommend that you partake in those classes while they remain free, because they may not stay free forever. I'm laughing to death. Okay, what exactly makes a crypt thing evil? Well, that's the thing. All right, let's just have a look at the crypt thing, because I've got the page open. And we could go down. It's not evil. It's not evil. It's not an evil creature. It's a neutral creature. That's right. The solitary, they're usually found alone. You don't find more than one. But it's neutral in Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 2nd Ed Edition. So this means because it's neutral, there's an opportunity to have a conversation with them and negotiate. You may not get your way, but you can at least have a discussion with a undead creature, which is actually quite rare. It's very hard to do that, because usually it's like, nah, we won't worry about that, we'll attack it, and then they destroy the undead creature and it's all over. And this is one creature that are probably not going to be able to destroy anytime soon. So they may have to talk to it and make different plans. So yeah, if you felt like it had to be evil, no, it's not. It's actually neutral. It's going to have. Remember, its motive is to protect the tomb, the burial site that it exists in. It's not there to just destroy everything it comes across. So if you start being aggressive and assaulting it, then you're probably going to get teleported away. But if you don't do that and there's just a discussion, then this is a roleplay encounter, not a combat encounter. Does that make sense? Okay, I think we've covered that pretty well. I need to get myself organized because very shortly I am going to be busy with 6 other people, which means I have to get moving. So I am going to thank everybody for showing up to this. Expect more crazy stuff from me in the future because that's how I am. Okay, so thank you to my patrons for supporting me. Thank you to everybody who comes and watches my videos and who was present during the live stream. I do appreciate it. So wherever you are in the world, please, whether it be the morning, the afternoon, the night, or the wee early morning, please look after yourself, your family, and your friends. Be nice to your neighbours. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.